Back at an FSC live at CPAC 2023, and I have a famous journalist sitting with me, John Solomon. It's my great pleasure to interview you and thank you. And
be with you, Rachel.
yes, I heard you're the founder and the creator of Just News. Tell us why you create Just News.
I've been in the traditional media for most of my life. I started at the Associated Press. I worked at the Washington Post. I was the editor of the Washington Times, and I worked at the Hill. Over the last 10 years, I've seen a degradation of our commitment to neutrality and facts and more to politics and agenda. I wanted to create an old-fashioned news site that went back to neutrality and facts, maybe with all the newfangled things of video and podcasting. But I wanted people to hear facts without an agenda and let them make up their own mind. And that's what we've done. We now have 11 million readers a month now. We have large readership. We have a large television show and a large podcast, and we're grateful for all of that.
That's great. You know, we need a media to be able to dare to challenge the status quo and then telling the truth. So thank you for the work that you do. So I wanted to ask you, because you were in the media, we know as a new federal state of China, we know a lot of the Western media has bought out by the Chinese Communist Party. Have you observed that in your line of work?
I think it goes beyond the media. I think American companies in general bought into the idea in the late 90s that if we integrated China's economy with the United States, that it would work out well for both countries. I think we miscalculated the Communist Chinese Party's intentions and the Chinese Communist government's intentions. And now we look back, it was just 3 years ago where Joe Biden looked into the camera and told the American people, China's not our enemy, it's not our competition, they pose no threat. We know otherwise now. Most Americans woke up a few weeks ago and said, what's that balloon floating across the sky? I had Newt Gingrich, the former Speaker of the House, on my show a few months back now, and he was Speaker when the United States made the decision to grant China permanent trade privileges and the annual most favored nation status vote. He said it was the biggest mistake he had made in his political career. He looks back now, and all we did was allow American money and American technology to flow to China, and China hasn't reciprocated with the sort of free trade and free world promises that China made us when we engaged in the agreement.
Okay, so American politicians, American people realize they made a mistake. Yeah. So now what?
You hear a lot of people now, even some Democrats, like Mark Warner and others, saying we have to China-proof the economy, meaning that we have to decouple our dependence from China. And that is both parties talking that way for the first time. We have to end TikTok because TikTok is both saturating our children with bad content and also stealing data. That's what our intelligence communities now tell us. We need to harden our defenses, realizing that China not only wants to become the preeminent military power in the world, it wants to supplant the United States economically, including eliminating the U.S. dollar as the primary currency of the world. All of those are things we have to educate the American people on. We also have to educate the American people because we're very busy. We go about, we got soccer practice and kids at school. We have to tell people what human rights abuses are occurring with the Uyghurs and the Mongolians and all those around the world that China suppresses, sometimes with American technology or American dollars. The more we educate the American people, the faster that they will understand that our best interest is in decoupling. That's what most people think today.
Yes, this is so bang on, decoupling the CCP and Save America. But I have a question. This is a tough question because we know with the economic engagements China for decades. Right. So the decades has, as you said, infiltrated, the big American corporation, and including your Capitol Hill. Like a lot of people, congressional leaders, Eric Swalwell, Fan, those things. So a lot of people has been infiltrated. So how do you discern which Americans you can trust, whether they're representing people or not? How do you discern that?
It's a great question. Facts speak for themselves, and we have to judge people by, are they honest? Was Eric Swalwell honest when we first questioned him about this relationship? Was the President of the United States, President Biden, honest with us when he said there's no threat to China? Because at the time now, we know intelligence community was telling him something very different. But facts matter, and I think the American people, what I do as a journalist is not try to put my thumb on the scale of public opinion, but to try to give people the facts. Because I believe at the end of the day, the American people, just like the Chinese people, they're remarkably smart. When they have the information, they'll make the right decision.
Actually, I'm looking forward to you to coverage more about new federal state of China, because as the #1 enemy of the totalitarian state, they have been hitting us with 76 lawsuits in the past 6 years. Yeah. So we want to get those words out. So follow the lawsuits. They will be able to see the American sellouts. In your coverage, how much coverage in your program you cover the CCP versus China?
Oh, it's hardly a day goes by between justthenews.com or the show, Just the News No Noise, that we don't have someone on talking about the China threat, the China relationship, the China trade relationship, the China virus, the COVID-19. And we were one of the earliest news sites to report that it was most likely a lab leak. We were pilloried by our own colleagues in the media for a long time, but we prevailed because facts are a stubborn thing. And I think Americans are now realizing, well, China did a lot to us, and we've given a lot to China. And I don't mean the Chinese people. We have to separate the Communist Party from the Chinese people. But America is waking up to the threat, and I think the policies will begin to adjust as everyday Americans have their voices heard and tell our government it's time for change.
Absolutely. And I think information is power. And we have a lot of intels because we have 600 million Chinese backing up this cause. A lot of the intels are shared with people behind the enemy line. So we will be happy to share with a lot of intel's information with you as Just News, and you can help us. Yes,
we're all
great.
about facts. At the end of the day, we're about news and facts, and we'll love to learn more from you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Mr. Solomon. It's a great honor. I'll let you go. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah, God bless you. Thank you.